later on this week in regard to the offering assistance to ex-offenders who need to be reintroduced in a productive way back into society. First of all, what are you doing up there this week? You're having a Cleveland restaurant cater lunch to some of your colleagues.
Yeah, it's exciting. We've got Brandon Krotowski coming up, and Brandon, as you may know, he heads up Edwins, which is a restaurant in Cleveland I've been to and seen his good work, and he hires ex-offenders, and he trains them, and then he allows other restaurants to hire these guys and women, and unbelievable success rate. He's been able to place literally everybody, 98% of the people, I think is what he told me most recently, who have come through his training program, and not a single one has gone back to prison. Now, that's an amazing record. Unfortunately, the reality is a lot of people who get out of prison do get back into prison. In fact, more than half of them end up getting back into the prison system within 2 or 3 years. This revolving door has to be stopped, and one way you do it is to provide the kind of skills training that Brandon's providing, in this case culinary skills, but also in IT, in healthcare, and manufacturing. There's lots of opportunities here, so I have promoted that. My legislation called the Second Chance Act does that. I'm now trying to get that legislation reauthorized and improve it a little bit to allow really good programs like the one at Edwins to be able to take advantage of it. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to hold up a good program and to hold up some of these ex-offenders. He's going to bring himself, but also another chef with him, hold these guys up and say, this is what can happen to somebody if you give them a second chance. Okay, so what do you hope to accomplish tomorrow with the lunch, so your colleagues would actually see some of these folks who are now functioning in a productive work environment, and maybe make it a little easier to promote your message? Absolutely. I mean, I think it's pretty powerful to sit there and eat lunch. It'll be a beautiful meal. It'll be a meal that's designed, prepared by ex-offenders, and again, we're going to have them there to be able to talk to the members. Even before the lunch, we're going to have a meeting with members of the House delegation and staff to talk about this as a model and talk about why we need to pass this legislation to encourage these kind of programs. So it's an opportunity to hold up something that's working really well in Northeast Ohio, and to talk about how at the federal government we can be better partners to encourage more of the same.
So how do you convince employers who are sorting through job applicants, and they have a lot of qualified candidates, and here's a guy who looks very qualified, but he's got that box checked? How do you convince them to take a chance on an ex-offender when they don't have to, that they have an abundance of people to hire from?
It's a great question, and one thing you do is you provide these ex-offenders with the skills they need to fill the current skills gap we have in our economy. So you do have a lot of employers in Northeast Ohio who are interested in hiring. They can't find the people who they need. So part of it is giving these ex-offenders an edge by providing them the help they need. And by the way, also helping them through if they have a drug abuse problem or other issues, and getting them back on their feet. Second, I will tell you, because I've had a lot of experience in talking to businesses about this. In fact, we had a roundtable discussion that was hosted by the Greater Cleveland Partnership and others on this. Employers who have taken the risk and gone ahead and said, you know what, despite that box being checked, I'm going to hire this person, have found in the vast majority of cases it was a great decision, because these people are grateful. They're hardworking. They know that these employers have, frankly, overlooked some of the prejudice that maybe some other employers might have, and decided they're going to hire somebody even though that they have a criminal record. And so our experience with this and talking to people who've actually taken that risk, hired folks who have come out of a training program, is that it is a good decision, loyal, trustworthy, and again, grateful employees. So I encourage more businesses to look at that. It might not be for everybody, but I encourage more businesses to look at that and to give these folks the second chance that they deserve.
Senator, maybe putting the issue close to home here. I know your family owns a very renowned establishment in the hospitality business down in Lebanon, Ohio, I believe, Golden Lamb. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, would you consider hiring an ex-offender in that family business down there?
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's face it, culinary skills are needed right now. The restaurants all over the state, they're looking for good people, and it's one of those entry-level jobs for a lot of ex-offenders that has proven to be very successful. I was at Lutheran Social Services about a year ago talking to a guy who had gone through the program. He had been in and out of prison about 6 times. He was a little younger than me, He now is not just a cook, he's a supervisor at a restaurant in Cleveland. And for the first time in his life, you know, he's taking care of his little girl. He's got a place to live for the first time in his life. It's his. And it's a great story. And part of the way he got back on his feet was going through, in this case, Lutheran Social Services does a great job with their training program, but learning those culinary skills, and that provided him an entry-level job, and then he furthered his skills once he got his foot in the door. And he's a great example of somebody who has found a second chance through this profession. And as I said, if you talk to Brandon Krotowski, he will tell you he's been able to place 98% of his folks. He has people now in over 30 restaurants in the Cleveland area. So this is sort of one of the many, but it's one good example of the kind of a profession that can help people to get back on their feet.
Right. I mean, this is a
life.
huge issue in Northeast Ohio. I mean, we have an immense number of ex-offenders coming back into the population, and that's the question. What are they going to do to provide for their family? What are they going to do to get a paycheck? And so many of them are struggling to find that spot.
Yeah. Brandon's got a great model. And Tom, you know, I can't tell you every program works as well as this one does, because to have a 0 recidivism rate is extraordinary. But this one is really working. And I've been there. I've talked to the ex-offenders who are there. I've asked them why they think it works. Part of it is, you know, it's a tough program. There's a lot of discipline involved. There's you know, at the start, you know, showing up on time and just the basics of you know, getting into the work world, but then developing a real skill that's needed in the Cleveland area.
All right.
But this is also true in terms of IT, in terms of healthcare, in terms of manufacturing. There are lots of other areas where we need those skills in our economy right now, and it's good for everyone. It's good to get these guys back on their feet and to, again, them back with their families to help provide an income. But it's also good for those jobs that are now going open.